Hi guys, it's Stephen here with Wisely Living. Today I'm going to teach you how to process and prepare an aloe vera plant. The first thing we're going to want to do is separate out our aloe. So you're going to need a really big knife, you're going to need a cutting board, and of course an aloe. I have a lot of aloe plants. I inherited them from my grandfather or my opa. So this one is actually kind of young. Usually you want to let an aloe plant grow for about 2 to 3 years where you get that nice broad leaf. But I was actually coming in to just trim it a little bit and I grabbed onto a dead leaf and I uprooted the whole thing. So might as well make a lemonade out of lemons, right? So here we go. Let's just take time first and separate them out. So starting with these big ones, just removing from the plant. Obviously, the more leaf you get, the more aloe you'll get from it. You want to not to be too conservative as you go. So just slowly cutting away from the base. Whew, it is juicy. There we go. This last one here. Then we'll break out these little, it's like a whole nother pup was starting out of the side here. I'll get that one right there. So there you go, easy peasy. So we're not going to use the entirety of the leaf, and it is a lot more when it's these smaller ones. When you get to these bigger leaves, it's a little easier, but like I said, what we normally harvest is about 2 to 3 inches across. So this stuff right here, you're not really going to get any aloe. Regardless of the size of the leaf, you're going to want to just take and cut that piece off. And an important part of when you get it, you can almost already see, see this yellow? Gosh, it's oozing everywhere. This yellow brownish stuff here, that is the stuff you don't want. There's actually like an Ayurveda, as well as Chinese medicine, they actually use that as a laxative. So the key is just grabbing a bowl. You want to be able to sit in an angle and slowly it'll all just ooze right out the bottom. Give it a few hours. I know some people recommend overnight. And then you'll be able to go ahead and finish processing your aloe. So some of the reasons why we raise aloe, one, so good for the skin, especially if you've had a sunburn. We have a little pool outside and I'll tell you what, a nice cool aloe ice cube has just been amazing. From a Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic standpoint, they view the aloe as a cooling and moistening plant. So those are the properties we really want to get by harvesting this gel. It's also really good for cuts and abrasions. My wife, she'll put it right into her hair. She absolutely loves it. So there's just really so many uses for aloe. I'm sure you're probably familiar with most of them. It's not some big secret out there. So the goop coming out is demulcent, which means it really is, it's a moistening liquid that we're going to be adding, or is a property of the plant. So one of the things you want to remember about aloe, especially if you're using it for a burn, is you want to let that burn like leave the body first. It is, really common in traditional Chinese medicine. Luckily for me, I married an acupuncturist. But if you apply it right into the burn, it actually kind of traps some of that heat in there. So you want to make sure that you've allowed the heat to dissipate before you start adding aloe to any type of burn. And in addition to the aloe, something that we really like to do, so we're getting into the herbs, is add calendula or lavender compresses. It's a really good way to extract the heat from the body. Once the compresses has done their job and really extracted that heat from the body, that's when you're going to go ahead and add the aloe. So I'm not much one for getting facials, but I know one of the things my wife really likes to do with the aloe is add it to just like a mud mask or a facial toner, or even just rubbing the gel onto her face, a couple of cucumbers on the eyes. It's just a really nice way to rejuvenate the skin. And we're back. All right, so what I've done is actually taken and TP'd these together. I just used a rubber band. With the larger aloe leaves that we generally process, string is nice just to tie them together. So it's been about 4 hours and they're pretty much done dripping at this point. We've got all that yellow yuckiness out, just a little bit in the bottom of the bowl here. I feel like most of it really comes out in that initial cut and just starts to drain all out. I've since taken the time to wipe down the counter. So we're going to go ahead and just pull this rubber band off. So what I often do is really just, it's more like filleting a fish than anything else, which is much easier to do with the really broad leaves. But with some of these smaller ones, that may not be an option. And there's also probably just for people's safety. Well, first thing, let's just go ahead and trim off these little barbs that are on the side of it. And this is where it gets messy. If you've noticed, I've added an apron to my outfit. This is definitely where we're gonna get sticky and messy. So once you take the barbs off, and really there's, like I said, I usually just kind of cut it right down the top of the skin like filleting a fish, but we're gonna go make it into some more manageable sized pieces. And then we're just gonna take this big knife, we're gonna go right down the center. That's where all that gel is. And rather than even trying to fillet it, we're just gonna take a spoon and scrape it. So I've got my blender here, and we're gonna put it right in there anyway, so you might as well just scrape it right off. So we're just gonna go ahead, take the spoon, and just work on getting this gel right out of there. That's the stuff you want. Free and clear, no more yellow goop. But it is a slimy, messy process as we go. As it works so much, just a safer way to handle this when you're using the smaller leaves. And it's going to be a minute. I mean, we've got a pile of leaves here to go through. But just one at a time, cutting down the middle, and using the spoon to slowly scrape out all that awesome goodness in there. Easy peasy. So the next part we're going to cover is we're going to get into how to preserve this. So first we're going to blend it up, and then we're going to strain it. So I'm going to go ahead and finish scraping these out, and we'll come back after we blend it, and we'll show you the finished product and how we strain that before we take the time to actually process it. And it is a mess. All right. All right, so that was about 25 minutes worth of work. One of the nice parts about having the bigger, broader leaves, it's a lot less effort for a lot more yield. But it's not too bad. We did pretty good right there. As you'll notice, there's still a little bit of greens. You're gonna wanna reach in there and kind of pick out some of those bigger chunks if you can. Like that guy, I don't know how he got in there, but more than anything, once you blend it up, we're also gonna follow that up with straining. And when we strain, we're going to get any of the remaining stuff out of there. And I do this with my daughter every now and again, and there's never a time where we've done this where there hasn't been a nice achoo kind of joke. You can't play with slimy stuff and not do that. And now it's time to blend this bad boy up. Got it all in here. Here we go. We're just going to start the little pulse action. Let's just go for it. I know it's a very scientific amount of time that I just did there, but really what I've always noticed is when it starts to get frothy on the top, that's when you got about the consistency that you're looking for. All right, it's time to pour this slippy, slimy goodness into our strainer. I like to go into a measuring cup because it's just easier to pour. We're going to freeze this. It is by far the best way to store it. I know people talk about putting this and that into it, and even then, you might get a couple months in the fridge, but really, frozen into a freezer bag is by far the best way that you can do this. So you can use a bowl if you don't happen to have a giant measuring cup, which most people probably don't. And really, any strainer will do. So just pouring it on in there. As you can see, the consistency is nowhere near as slimy as it was. Get all that frothy goodness in there. And then I like to take just a rubber spatula, which I probably should have had out, but hey, it's in my drawer. It's my kitchen. So just go ahead and start taking it and pushing that remaining bit through the strainer. Nice, and look at all that. This is where you're going to get out any of that peel that got in there. You can see a little bit of green in there. That's all going to stay in the strainer. We're going to get as much of this aloe as we possibly can. Right now I've got just about a scoop left. So just keep working it through. Almost got it. And at the end, what we're left with is just a little bit of this really dense stuff that's got a lot of that green peel in it. What we really want to work with is this here. Look at that. It's beautiful. And then from here, we're just going to take some ice cube trays. What we've done in our house is, because my wife freezes all sorts of crazy herbs for a variety of different reasons, we tend to color code our ice cube trays. Blue, cooling, aloe. So we're just going to take this. Be nice and careful as you pour it on in. And if you're going from a bowl, well, just do the best you can, right? So where we didn't have a whole lot, looks like we'll probably have just enough to fill this ice cube tray up. Some of these cubes might be a little bigger than others. There we go, just like that. So we're going to pop that in the freezer overnight. And when it's done, all you want to do is just pop them right out onto the counter, grab a big freezer bag, and just leave them in there. And I will say one little pro tip here is label your freezer bag, because you're going to say, I'm going to remember. I know when I did that. And I swear a year later, you're going to pull out and be like, when the hell did I process all this aloe? Trust me, you won't remember. So label your stuff. And yeah, enjoy the benefits of aloe. Hope you enjoyed this video.